primer, I'd say, on
Okay.
to set them up to understand what you're doing out here.
Okay. Environmental problem solving. Boy, that could be a huge class nowadays in our present situation. Okay, well, my name's Pat Maloney. I'm on the board of directors for an organization called the Foundation for Sustainable Forests. And it's probably going to, what we're going to talk about today is probably going to fit in your class pretty well, because it was founded to solve an environmental problem. So we can talk today as we kind of go through the woods here about some environmental problems that we face. But one of the largest ones is basically, especially in Pennsylvania, is parcelization of our landscape. So the parcels of land that people own are getting smaller and smaller. And it's kind of easy to see how this happens, like, well, just through urban development, one. And you could kind of think, like, let's say you and your family own 20 acres and you have two brothers or something, and or let's say you had 100 acres and you had a couple brothers and a sister or something, and your parents, you know, they want to pass the land along, so okay, maybe they each get a little piece, and now all of a sudden it's 5 20-acre pieces instead of 100-acre piece. That's very common. So that's happening. What's not good about that is that's fragmenting the forest. So where you may have had like one big 100-acre piece of forest, now you may have these smaller pieces, and with those divisions, there's access, there's roads, there's edges, lots of places for invasive species to get into there. And also a lot of different people's interests in the land use. Like, I mean, maybe one person wants to conserve the forest, but the next person wants to cut it all down. Who knows? So the founders was Troy and Lynn Firth. Now is the founder, mainly Troy Firth. His wife has since passed away. Initially created the Firth Family Foundation, where they were finding pieces of land, much like this one here. This is one of them, and buying them or entering partnerships and conserving them. And they did that for some years, and then they noted there was kind of a lot of public interest, or some public interest, individuals' interest that they met. So they expanded that into the Foundation for Sustainability. And quite a bit more here in the near future we should be able to add to our property ownership. And it's growing, and it's really, like, a lot of people are taking interest in it, so it's kind of a neat thing. So that's kind of an intro. Does anybody have any questions? The thing that makes us unique is we're talking about working forests. So this forest, we just finished a timber cut on this forest. There was this whole area here. This is a log landing. This was all full of logs. So that's kind of a unique thing about our management, is that we are promoting and supporting working forests. We're not saying, okay, we own this land, hands off. Like, we're not preserving it per se. In a sense we are, but we're working on it, and by doing that we're supporting the rural communities around here, and also it's a plan that's just going to last into the future. Human interests have to be addressed, so having working forests be part of our mission and our goal kind of helps this be more sustainable, we think. So, and you may have an opinion, like, if you don't know that much about logging, you probably don't think it's a good thing, I guess. Well, that opinion could be justified in some senses, but it can be a really good thing. The logging that got done here all got done with horse teams, so it's minimal impact, and it got done in kind of an artistic way. So I think what we should do is take a big walk, and I can kind of explain our forestry principles and how we cut timber and how we get the timber out here, and answer any questions you have. And see where it goes. Does
All right.
that sound
Sounds
good
great.
to you?
Yep.
You guys can ask me any questions in a minute.
Please ask questions.
The trees might get a little bit muddy, but I'll do my best.
They've been
And
warned.
I should say, this wood's, well, there is poison ivy.
Somebody else asked about it too. Yeah, nothing here. I'll have to wait a little bit. We kind of figured.
At one time, this was probably plowed. You see how flat it is? Like, there would be, it's called pit and mound topography, where there would be little humps if it hadn't been at one time cultivated, plowed. So, but there's, toward the road where you came in, which we're not going to go up there, there's a lot of poison ivy, but there's an old barn foundation. It's just very small. And there's a couple old little farm roads that we can find. So it's kind of neat to put the land use history together, because when we're managing this, really, like, I mean, what I'm going to show you today is only, it's a snapshot in time, right? Like, we don't totally know what happened before this, and we surely don't know what's going to happen in the future. So we're basing some of our management off of what we can see here and now. So when we manage we're trying to mimic nature, basically. So when we come into the woods, we select the trees, we call it worst first forestry. So we select the trees that are having problems, that have reached biological maturity. Now, that can kind of be tough to quantify because it's different for different species, but we're looking for trees that are either have been outcompeted, so now they're suppressed by the other trees, or that maybe like have a health problem, like they might have a big hole in them, or like a split in them, or something where they're going to probably, they're not going to get any better, okay? So it's kind of hard for me to look around and show you a tree standing like that because we've just logged here. But like the trees you're seeing here are pretty healthy. These really tall trees are two poplars. That's a red maple behind you. But in this spot right here, like we cut a red maple here that had 2 stems, 2 leaves. This is potentially a weak spot right here. So that tree probably wasn't that healthy. We cut a big tuile poplar over there. That stump you see there. I think we cut another soft maple right there. So those trees may have had some problems, but also you see these young trees you're seeing here, like right here. This is a sugar maple. This is a cucumber magnolia. On the ground here, these tiny little leaves, these little leaves right here are baby tuile poplar, babies of that tree right there. So, like, I did not mark these trees to be cut, but the gentleman who did, I know what he was thinking because we do the same thing. He was looking in here and he was thinking, oh, look at this regeneration. There's a very good chance that this regeneration is going to do really well, but it needed extra light. So we kind of decided to do a little, we called it group selection here. We're letting a whole bunch of light in to let these other trees grow. And by doing that, we've promoted other age classes of trees. Part of our management principle is to maximize diversity. Like, we're faced with, you guys probably talked about in your class, environmental problems like climate change, invasive species. We don't know what diseases are coming in the future. We have no idea. We don't, like maybe sugar maples, I mean, I make a lot of maple syrup, maybe I won't be able to do it in the future. I don't know. So we know we don't know it all. We're humble, like we don't. So all we can really do is put everything in our basket we can and maximize diversity, right? Because let's say a disease comes along and kills all these tuile poplars. Well, we have some other, we have other species here, these sugar maple, and we have different age classes. So by maximizing that diversity, we feel like we're kind of setting ourselves up the best we can for the future, which is unknown, and we just don't know.
We're talking about in class, so we talked about species diversity yesterday, the number of species in a given area. So he's talking about that. But the third category that we're going to talk about is ecosystem diversity, and that kind of fits with this too, that you need to look at the big picture. And the other thing that makes forests kind of difficult is that, and this kind of goes with the history of the United States, they've all been chopped down. We have very few original forests left, and forests live longer than we do. So we don't know, I mean, we do the best we can, but we don't know exactly what a long-lived natural forest looks like. And so, you
Right.
can
And we, Sarah's right, and they've been chopped down and parcelized. So, like Diane said, this is 106 acres. The foundation tries to get big pieces of land, and like the land around this, if it came up for sale, we maybe look at it, because then maybe it'd become 150 acres. We're kind of taking that parcelization and reversing it and trying to create large parcels and therefore intact ecosystems in those areas. It will take some time to do that, but that's a goal. That's one of our goals.
Can you talk a little bit about the ash trees and how you're managing those right now, given the
Sure.
emerald ash borer?
So when we come into the woods to do our management, like white ash and black ash are dying as a result of a bug called the emerald ash borer. It's probably pretty likely that they're going to completely die. You don't see very many large ash trees. There isn't very much ash on this property, but you don't see very many large ash trees that are healthy. So we take that into consideration when we're managing, and any ash on here, we would cut it all. I mean, we may have left some small trees that seemed healthy, but we cut it. And same with American beech. There's a disease called beech bark disease. So we have to take that into consideration in our management. That disease didn't just come like the emerald ash borer. I mean, it's from China originally, Asia somewhere. It came here. Well, now we have to deal with it. So, Mother Nature, it's here. Those trees would die. So we're kind of just speeding up the process. Well, we cut them. And yes, there is some value to be gained. I mean, they were valuable, so that we take that into consideration in our management. We know we might not come back here for, let's say, 7 to 10 years and do another cut. So those ash trees, if left here, by that time we would come back, they would be dead, most likely. So in this cut, we would select to get rid of them, to cut them out.
Can you tell them about, so we see some of the cut branches and
Sure.
trunks left here.
Yep.
About why you do that.
Sure. So the trees we're leaving behind are much more important to us than the trees we took out of the woods. So that's the reason for using horses. They can't be used everywhere, but they can be used a lot. And the horses, it's a small cart, so there's different ways to get logs out of the woods. You could use a bulldozer, you could use a skidder, you could use horses. Those are basically the three modern ways, let's say. So a horse cart isn't very wide. It fits through kind of can weave in and out of the trees. And when a horse walks on the ground, even with the cart loaded with logs, they step in different places, so there's not that much compaction in the soil. When you log with a machine, it goes in and out on the same path, and it very compacts the soil greatly. Like the trail we walked in on, that's all those marks, and it seems like it's been disturbed quite a bit, and it has from the horses. But there'll be, like if you guys came back here in a few years, there'll be plants growing in that trail. If it was a machine trail, they won't grow there. So what happens? One of the foresters for the foundation paints the trees. So let's say that tree's been painted. So we have probably 5 different crews of loggers. The logger would come up and see that tree was painted. He'd look around to see the best place to fall it, and where he's going to do the least amount of damage. So, like here, it's kind of you're going to do damage no matter where you fell the tree.